Oi, oi. Martin Liedtke speaking. Welcome back to another live episode. This one a little bit more special than usual. Just to let you know, quick words. Come back on my Saturday show because basically I got a big announcement for you all and some fantastic discoveries to unveil to you all, and that'll be on Saturday night. So I've got actually the Tom Campbell, the I hate to use the word famous, but the very renowned physicist and author of My Big Toe, okay, which is the theory of everything in this place which we find ourselves, which is all very ultra strange to myself. So I've got like a million questions to ask Tom. I really have. But with no further ado, Tom Campbell, thank you for gracing us with your presence. We are so super blessed. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, Martin. I'm glad to be here.
Wow.
We're going to have some fun today, just talking about your million questions. I'm not sure we'll get through all million of them, but we'll get through some of them.
Well, I just, the whole thing, with My Big Toe and, I'm when I first got into, started cramming, sort of quantum mechanics subjects, it was like Richard Feynman I was reading. Then I read My Big Toe and Michael Talbot, Holographic Universe. And he seems to have graduated because he's no longer with us. But it did make a big difference because it resonated. It's, for the high strangeness that has gone on in my life, I was just trying to make sense of, because I knew that there was a lot more going on in reality than what they were telling us because of some things that had happened. One thing that I know, that you were involved in was the Monroe Institute. So I do know that you do know something about the dream world. Now, this is something that is super duper interesting to me. I'm, I guess, in what you could call a lucid dreamer, and they sort of define my existence. Now, I do get this suspicion in my life that I'm being put here for a specific reason. Whatever it is I've done, but that's in the future now, and it's affecting it back in this time where we are in this now. So it's all very confusing. I'm sure I'll get it later. But maybe you can make sense of why I suffered the worst sleep paralysis imaginable as a child, which ended one night with stuff in my room, critters, if you like, in my room, and then the next year in a wheelchair with my legs stopped working, fell into entropy. Legs did not work anymore. No medical reason for it. The doctor said that it was a mental block caused through hyperactivity. Now, the sleep paralysis I'd had for years. I was so scared, Tom, to go to bed at night because I knew what was going to happen. I mean, when I was on fire, okay, I could feel that I was on fire. I was feeling pain. Not only that, I was bringing stuff back with me from my dream world. How is that even possible? Now, like markings that happened in the dream world, stuff that had happened in the dream world, I would bring back with me. I trained myself to slap myself awake or bang my head on the wall to wake myself up because I was paralyzed but completely conscious. There's a difference between conscious and unconscious, isn't it? I was completely conscious, but in a state of absolute, like, undescribable fear. And then it ends with me being in a wheelchair for a year. Literally, I wake up a year later, my legs are working again. I'm like, Mum, my legs are working again. But they'd wasted away because I'd been a year in a wheelchair and I had physiotherapy to get them back again. And they disappeared. The really terrible sleep paralysis disappeared after the wheelchair incident. But it's just there's something been ongoing my whole life. I really do feel that it's a simulation. Something stranger going on and more exotic. I really do feel that I'm being in some sort of experiment, okay, or test, or whatever it is, and it's ongoing. So what do you say to all that, Tom?
Well, Let me ask you a few questions. So you had this paralysis. Your mind was awake and clear, but your body wouldn't move. And this happened to you while you were, well, at least you started by going to sleep. And when you'd go to sleep, you'd get this paralysis, body wouldn't move. Then in the morning, did you wake up and one day found out that your legs didn't work after you woke up?
Yeah.
And how many days was that? How long did it
No,
take?
I mean, the worst of the sleep paralysis, it reached just what I thought was going on was I thought at the time they just like I'm just being spiritually abducted here. I'm just being my energetic field is just being like you probe. There's things coming for me. This is what I'm thinking at the time. But the last night there was just critters, what I thought were critters, like things, entities in my bedroom. That I know it's going to sound nuts, but I don't even care. It doesn't matter. That goblins or gremlins, if you like.
Was
They
while
got
you
a
were
terrible laugh, and they're not nice, and they bite, and I was petrified. And then I'm in a wheelchair, and then a year later, I get my legs back, and then it's back on with the show. But this is like about when I was about maybe 7, 8 years old. But leading up to that, I lived in an unbelievable fantasy world. Alice in Wonderland, I lived in. And it stopped overnight. I mean, this magical world of seeing entities and spirit worlds and all of these other realms that I was witnessing stopped overnight. And I went into like a deep grieving process, and I would have given anything to go back to that world. Okay, anything to go back to that world that I lived in. And that stopped, and it all was at the same time as all of these strange happenings with the sleep paralysis, ongoing, and just other stuff, messages, visions, all sorts of, so ongoing.
Now, were the visions that you had particularly scary and negative, or were they happy and positive or neutral?
No, some are very apocalyptic by nature. Tsunamis, and apocalyptic events in some of my visions. But some of my visions are precognitive. They will literally be the happenings of the next day. So that when the people are saying the stuff that I've just dreamt about the night before, my heart starts pounding, I start sweating, I start freaking out. Because, how am I, to reconcile from what, contemporary science and everything tells us about the way, life is, they're not accepting consciousness, I believe, are they? They just think it's some sort of byproduct of mental processes, whatever. Yeah. So just try to make sense of it, Tom.
Okay. Well, I think I've got enough to kind of have an idea of what is going on. And now, let me ask you this. Now, what are you doing? What kind of state are you in? You in a more stable state?
Yeah.
Things seem to be making more sense.
Yeah.
You are sharing with other people, obviously. That's why you have this.
I got the game wrong for a while, Tom. Yeah, because it was just interfered with, whatever you want to call it, like dark forces. I've just been messed with along my journey in this place. Okay, so what I call it is falling from grace, but it's really like a disconnection from source, and that happened just a little while ago, actually. But that was my own fault. Okay, so I had a big karma slap, and I've been put back on track. And it was all a lesson for me to learn what I'm not to do. So that was a good thing. So I'm grateful, and I'm thankful for that lesson. But I've never been in a better place than I am now, Tom, spiritually, mentally, and physically. Because I'm a 55-year-old man, and I'm still running around like I'm 21, doing all the same things. Same as you. You're a bit of a dancer. Well, I'm a bit the same. We can spread that stuff.
Yes. Okay. I think that probably, and this is what comes to me as I let my mind wander around all the things that you were saying, and intuitively letting it see if a pattern comes out. I think that you probably began early on with a with a proclivity to have a thin veil, a thin membrane between you and this reality and in a non-physical other realities. And you started out just really with a foot in both worlds.
Exactly that.
And when you started out that way, that was just a natural thing. It wasn't something that was made to happen. It wasn't something that was forced, but it was something that you were good at or you were natural with. Okay. And had this been 400 or 500 years ago, and had you been in some Aboriginal tribe, you would have been seen as the seer,
I'm aware.
yeah, you would have been put in that kind of a role, that you would be their spiritual seer, um, connection with the larger reality kind of person, because almost every tribe and group had those kinds of people. So you would just naturally have been one of those, but you weren't in that environment. You were, in a more technical Western society where you were just weird. You weren't,
Yeah.
you were different than everybody else.
Yeah.
And then you had to deal with that difference. What did that mean? Why is it that you were so different? And what did it mean? And were the things that you were getting real things, or were they not real things? Because in your own mind, you knew they were real things, these experiences you were having. But other people here were telling you that they weren't real things, that this was
Well, I
just,
wasn't telling anyone. I told one girl in school,
ah,
just the one who sat next to me, a girl I really
yeah.
liked and I knew I could trust. I told no one. Because
Well,
what was I going to say?
if you told no one, that's because you already intuitively knew that if you did, it wouldn't be helpful. That if you
Exactly
did,
that.
you were going to, they weren't going to understand, and they were going to jump to conclusions that just weren't
Exactly.
true, and you wouldn't been able to convince them. And you had that intuitive knowledge already that that's the way it was going to be.
Yeah.
So you're trying to make sense of yourself in this situation. And one of the things that happens to you, of course, was this becoming paralyzed, where your body doesn't work anymore. Well, you become paralyzed when you have kind of a double awareness, which was natural to you, having a double awareness. You had awareness in more than one reality at a time.
Yeah.
So here you are in what some people would call an out of body state or a lucid dream state. And you're aware and you're doing that and you're interacting with beings there and things, and you've got a life there. And you, at that time, when you're there, your body is lying in a bed probably, or someplace where it's still and quiet, and your body's lying in bed. And because you are there interacting physically within that non-physical system, what's physical and what's non-physical is all from the point of view. Physical
Well,
and
still.
non-physical have no meaning. Physical is the viewpoint from the reality system that you happen to be in at the time. That's what seems physical, and everything else seems non-physical. So it's a matter of perspective and what reality frame you're in. Well, there's lots of different reality frames you can be in. So when you are physical in some other reality frame other than the one we call our physical universe here, then your body becomes non-functional.
Huh.
And now you're split and you're trying to do two things. You're there, and then you're aware that your body's just lying in a bed, and your awareness goes back to the body, but nothing moves. That's because you're no longer you're in another
I know what you're
reality.
saying.
You're not in the reality where your body is.
Hmm.
So your body's just lying there. It's not really paralyzed. It's just that your intentions are no longer moving it.
I am aware of this realm in my dream realm. This construct that I've been going to since I was a child. Okay, this seaside city, I can tell you everything about, and I'm exactly the same person as I am now in my dream state. I mean, there's no weirdness going on. It's just me doing the same journey as I'm doing in my wake life. Okay, I know people. I go to visit people. I got like a secondary life.
Yes, exactly. So when you're there, then you're aware. Now your double awareness is that you're also aware that you have a body here. And then you say, okay, I've got this body here now. I want to get up. I want to move my arm. I want to roll over, and nothing happens. Oh my God. And so you try harder.
You
And
tell your body to move.
yeah, you tell your body to move, to do something, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you're not really here. If you were here, the body would respond because your intention would drive the body. But when you're not here, your intention doesn't drive the body. Your intention is interactive in some other reality frame. But because you have this double awareness, you are in another reality frame, aware of your body, and the body appears to be paralyzed. And what that does then is cause, for most people, that causes fear. Something's wrong. My body doesn't work. Oh my God, I'm going to be paralyzed. And that starts to build. And pretty soon you're freaking out because this is just very, very frightening. And that gets your fear going. Okay. And when that paralysis goes away, you say you're afraid to go back to sleep because, it's a scary thing that's happening to you where you're losing control of your body because you just didn't realize that you're parallel processing multiple realities.
Oh, it would go west. It would literally trick me, and I would wake up twice. That I thought that I'd woken up and that all was safe again, and then it would still be happening, and I would have to wake up a second time.
Mm-hmm. So that's like having a dream in your dream.
Yeah.
And so that's what was natural for you. You're naturally able to get around in various virtual realities, multiple virtual realities, and that's just been a natural talent of yours, which is a really nice thing to have, except when you're very young and don't understand what's going on, it can be very scary. It can be terrifying.
There was.
So that terror that you had of finding yourself paralyzed, you didn't like that feeling, that sense of being paralyzed. So one of the things you did, and again, this is a mind, your mind leads, your body follows. Your intention drives not only where you focus and define your reality, but it also modifies the reality. So the reason that your legs stopped working is because that kept you from having that experience of going into this reality where your legs wouldn't work. In other words, you fixed it. You fixed that by not letting them work at all. All right. Now you were the same here and the same there. So you didn't have the scary thing of going there and becoming paralyzed because you partially paralyzed yourself here so that experience would no longer be so frightening. So now this reality became more in line with that reality.
Yeah.
And so that was a thing that you did. Now that was a mind over matter. Your intention was such that this is just the way you had to have it. Otherwise it was just too damn confusing and it was driving you nuts. Yeah. And that was kind of your way of coping rather than going insane, was to have your legs not work. Okay.
That's what happened. That's exactly what happens. I sabotage myself to stop.
Sabotage yourself so the legs didn't work. Now, eventually, you'll kind of outgrow that fear. That fear starts to.
I don't do fear anymore. Because of my life, I'm like fear proof.
Eventually, as you grow past that, then that fear starts to get less and less, and then eventually your legs start working again, and you start. Of course, you're still parallel processing realities, but you're not quite so frightened as you were before because you've already made peace with yourself, partly paralyzed.
Yeah, I have. I've forgiven myself in the past. I've tried to go back and heal everything, and it's just I'm grateful for it all because it's put me where I am now. But I'm not on this road of inquiry.
That's the point. The thing is that when you just are born with this proclivity. The system then, the larger consciousness system looks at you and says, now here's somebody that can help open people's minds.
Yeah,
he's got this natural
right brain now. Yeah, right brain.
He's got this natural connection, and he's going to be able to help open people's minds to a larger reality, to reality being more than just what we're told it is, you know? So then the system starts to work with you and give you what we say, give you information in these various virtual realities that starts to help you grow up and see bigger pictures. And evidently, you got kind of wound up with something that took you off the track in the wrong way, and the system had to bring you back and say, no, wrong, you're going down a rabbit hole that's destructive. You need to come back.
Did you know
it pulled you back? It pulled you back and said, no, look, not that way. This is what you need to become, and this is what you need to understand. And from then on, you kind of had your place in the world. Things started working right. Started sharing your experiences. People started listening to you and realizing reality is bigger than it was. So the system now, you're one of the, you know, what do we call it? The persons of interest to the system that the system worked with.
They remote view me. They asked permission to come in. I've had them all come in to have a look. What all of the noise is about. You know, I've had all, like, you know, famous personalities from history coming to take a look.
Now you're on the right path. Things are working out. You've kind of got the picture. You understand, you know, love is what it's all about. You kind of understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. You see your connection with other people, that you're a teacher, you're an example. You are something that shows people that, you know, that's more to life than just this box that we find ourselves in. You know, you need to get out of the box, and there's more there. And that's encouraging to people, because a lot of people feel boxed in. They don't particularly care for this reality, and they feel boxed in. They want to understand the bigger picture. And you help them, you help open the door to that bigger picture. So you're doing this service for the larger consciousness system, and the system is helping you and helping you see things correctly, giving you the information you need. Sometimes if you go down a bad path, it'll tell you, not, that's it. You need to go do this other thing. And all of it is sincere. All of it is just you sharing yourself and your life, and your audience is aware of that. They can feel the sincerity. They can feel the reality of it, and it's refreshing to them, because it's not just the same old junk they've been fed forever.
My motivation is love, and that has been from the very start. The true nature of consciousness, and to spread love. That has been my mission.
You have to excuse me just a minute. I got a throat tickle here, and I'm going to take a lozenge for that. I'm going to not let you listen to all of this because it isn't.
Anyway, thank you all for popping by. We've got quite a few in chat. Please share this out if you would. Thanks, guys. Yeah. That's right. It's not better.
Okay. Getting better here. Got a lozenge here. In a few minutes that'll work. So that kind of brings us up to here you are. You are one of many people. I'm one of them included. You're one of many people who are here trying to help other people understand who they are, why they are, where they are, what the point is, what is life all about, and crack open that awareness to something bigger and more meaningful and more significant than just a material world. And the scientists will tell you there's just a material world, there's nothing else, that's it. And a lot of people find that kind of a depressing idea, and they like to have something more significant about life than the fact that they come, they suffer, they scramble, they fight, and then they die, and it's over. You know, that just doesn't sound like a great scenario. So people are looking for something more, and you help them do it. Now there's a group of people who will really, really open up to you because they relate to you. There's another group that will open up to somebody else. There's a group of people opens up to me at MBT, and we're all here because the more the merrier. The more people there are helping spread the idea that love is the answer, well, the better it is.
Well,
And you're
I
doing it.
loved your video, This Week Love is the Answer, but that video you did where you explained two societies of one fear-based, 100,000, and one love-based, 100,000, left to get on with the show. The sort of the penny dropped. I was like, oh, yeah, guess which one we're in. It's such a shame. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, if we were just on that love-based system, we were left to go on with it. Yeah, I'm sure we would nail it. It would be fantastic.
Yeah, and all we need to do is just change our attitude, see things differently, have a different perspective, you know, and well, that's what you're doing. Is you're helping people do that, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what thousands of other people are doing. We're trying to show people a better path to living their life, understanding their reality, to why they're here. And we need to do that because growing up, I call this just growing up. You know, we have to grow up.
Yeah.
And growing up is lowering entropy. You know, that's more of a scientific version of it. Yeah. Or just becoming love. That's more of the right brain sense of it, you know, just becoming love. That's the key. Not about self, it's about other. It's not what can I get, it's how can I help? You know, it's not what's in it for me. You know, it's about other. So that's the key. And when we get to that, then we will find that just naturally our institutions, our leadership, our organizations will all kind of modify themselves to express that vision. And when they do, we just naturally become sustainable, caring, cooperative people in a society that now can do 10 times, 100 times more than it could do before. And everybody will have more freedom and more ways that they can express themselves fully.
Yeah, creatively. Yeah,
creatively and all sorts of, and that become available. So it's maximum personal freedom. It's maximum everything that's good for everybody and minimum the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, we can go there, and we will get there eventually, because this is the natural evolution of consciousness toward that end. So we're going to go there.
I do know. I know we're getting ready. We're preparing. I'm spiritually and physically preparing for that time, that new world that will come. There's no way this tyranny can carry on the way that the world is carrying on.
That's right. It's self-destructive. It doesn't. It doesn't go on. So now the reason there's so many of us right now trying to help and teach and show a better way to approach life is that, you know, we're coming to a time where the change has to happen more quickly. You know, evolution is real slow, but the more you evolve, the easier it is to evolve more. You know, the more you learn, the easier it is to learn more.
Yeah, I know.
Well, what's happening now is that our technology is growing very, very fast, right? We just have AI bots now running around doing very clever things. So that in the next 5 or 10 years, things are going to change more than they changed in the last 20 or 30 years. And the next decade after that, they're going to change even more than that. So the change is speeding up. Now, we have to be wise and we have to be caring how we apply this new technology, what we do with it, how we use it. So we have to grow so we can make the wise decisions, the caring, the cooperative decisions, how we're going to deal with our technology. If the technology is way out ahead of us and we're still not grown and have a very low quality of consciousness, we'll use that technology to hurt. We'll use it for self-centered reasons. We'll use it to take advantage.
The internet, when they get to the internet, what a waste of time people did with that. Yeah.
Exactly. You see all the, you have all the great potential for an internet. Oh, it can share great ideas and all this wonderful potential. People can publish their music and their books and stuff without having to go through the monster at the gate. You know, it's done it's done a lot of good. But on the other hand, boy, it's spread a lot of negativity and fear, and it's done all this too. So we have to grow more quickly because our technology is growing more quickly. And if we don't grow up, we're going to end up accentuating the negative rather than accentuating the positive. So the larger consciousness system has put you here and grooming you and me here. And like I say, thousands of other people are here, all trying to help the majority of people see a better way. That we don't have to live in this world where the coin of the realm is control, power, force, and that's it. Boy, if you've got control and power and force, now you can do something, and you don't have it, you just lie at the bottom of the pile, So that's the whole thing, control, power, force. And that's the wrong ethic. We don't need an ethic of control, power, force. We need an ethic of love, cooperation, and caring. And when we make that switch, then suddenly life, instead of being a challenge and a struggle for people, will start being fun and rewarding. And everybody, no matter how much or little money they make, will be successful, because success isn't about money.
No, it's not.
Success is about being able to contribute to the whole. It's about being able to love and care and help. That's what it's about. So, yes, you're here for a reason, and you're being helped by the LCS because you're just a natural for helping other people open the door. I'm here for the similar reason, and we all are here, all the other people too, are here to help us grow more quickly, because the next 2 decades are going to be very, very telling. It's like a knife edge, right? It's like you're balanced on a knife edge, and you could fall this way or you could fall that way. And it doesn't take much of a push to go either way. And right now we're trying to make it so that it falls toward the side of love, falls toward the side of caring and cooperation, not to the side of self-centeredness and grabby and greed and power, control, force. That's what we've had for the last 200,000 years is power, control, force. That's it.
The power is over because they got shiny things and all of the superficial nonsense that everybody got. And they got great marketing and brainwashing techniques. But
we need now to change. Just like we did. When we went through the industrial age, we started with a very rowdy, rough, kind of violent place, and the industrial age mimicked that. They had 10-year-olds that were chained to their machine, at least so I've read, so that they would still be there in the morning. Otherwise, you couldn't count for them coming back. And we only worked them, 7 days a week or sometimes 6 days a week. And we treated them like slaves. We treated them like indentured servants. And a lot of that was very abusive. But we had to learn better. And we did. Eventually there's child labor laws. Eventually there's only 8-hour work days. Eventually, you only work 5 days a week instead of all 7. So we had to grow. We had to grow up some, but we still have that control, power, force ethic kind of driving the system. Yeah, but it took a long time. Now, the Industrial Revolution has been about 200-300 years, depending on where you put the mark of where it starts. So about 200 or 300 years it took us just to get to the point that we have the value. We value human beings more now than we did then. So we've grown up a little bit. Well, we're going to have to grow up more than that in the next 2 decades. 2 or 3 decades, not 2 or 3 centuries, but 2 or 3 decades, because everything's changing faster. Now we're in the information age, and in the information age, things can move very fast, change on a dime, and we have to grow up, because if we don't grow up, then it's just going to be like in the industrial age. If instead of growing up, we refused to grow up, then we'd still have 10-year-olds, chained to machines. We'd still be treating people like indentured servants and slaves. It would be a very harsh, violent environment. Well, it's still a fairly harsh environment, but it's a lot better than it was.
Yeah, it's a lot better than it was.
It's a lot better than it was. So now we have to make that 300 years worth of change and more in the next 3 decades, because in 3 decades, we're going to be facing very hard choices. And if we make wrong choices, the technology is going to start pushing us backwards rather than forwards until we self-destruct to the point that we can start chugging forward again.
It's tricky then, isn't it? Because most of the people in power are narcissists by nature. So they're not really going to give us, stuff about the rest of us. So, I'm guessing, I'm just hoping that the way consciousness works is, by, critical mass. Most people, this is what I'm thinking, numbers. The more people that are awake to what exactly is going on here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's right. So yeah, those people though, those narcissists that are at the top now, they got there because they represent us. We, the people, we, the human race. We have a very low quality of consciousness.
I don't want them. Yeah, I think I'm a captain of my own ship. Yeah, and I'm a leader of people. I don't really need to be led by them. I don't need to be told what to do. I got a terrible problem with authority, Tom. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I've always got this attitude. It's like, you can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, well, that.
It's just that guy.
I'm in that same boat. My whole life, I've had a very strong reaction to arbitrary authority. Is the way it is. But you see, that arbitrary authority, what I'm saying is that is a representation of us. It's that way because we're the way we are. We have a low quality of consciousness, we, the human race. So they're a symptom. They're not the problem. We look at them and we say, those greedy CEOs and those greedy politicians, they're the problem.
We are that game. They got to mirror us. They'll look their game. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a symptom of the problem. They're not the problem. We are the problem.
Yeah, we are.
When we change us, then they will just automatically change.
The inside work, first.
Yeah.
Then you change
has to come inside, right? So it's going out and jerking those CEOs out of their spots and putting in nice people will only last a short time if we don't change. They'll find more nasty people will find their way in there, and we're just not going to fix anything until we change. And when you're right, when you get a critical mass, when you get maybe 10 or 20% of humanity sees that love and cooperation and caring is really the ethic we want, not control, power, force. When we get 10%, 20%, that's enough. That'll start a landslide that direction, because they'll see that 10 or 20% is happy, is successful. They're feeling good. Their life is fine, and it's where everybody else wants to go, and people will want to be like them, and it'll all catch. But we've got to get that 10%.
We're kind of grown up that much, Tom, if there's still so much suffering going on in the world, and just, theaters of war and all of these incredible wastes of money. They're just endless,
But in 5 or 10 years, we can change all that. All of that is changeable if we just change our own attitudes and get to that 10 or 20% of the human population to have that better idea. Then all the warring and all the greedy CEOs and the rest of them, that'll just go away. It'll change.
So is the nature of the simulation.
Yeah, it's the way they represent us. As long as we, the people, are low quality of consciousness, so will our institutions be, so will our leaders be, so will all the CEOs be. And when we, the people, get to be a higher quality of consciousness, so will all the politicians and the rest of them. Everybody will raise up. So we're in kind of a race now with the technology. The technology is like a lever. A lever allows you to take a little bit of force and create a whole lot of force at the other end of the lever, right? So you can put 10 pounds down on this, but you get 100 pounds up on the other end. That's the lever. Well, that's what technology does. Technology is a lever. It helps us be able to do things in a lot more powerful way. The Industrial Revolution gave us a lever toward building things and making nifty things like computers and automobiles and airplanes and automatic washers and dryers and things like that.
Rockets.
Stuff that gives us more time, more freedom, because we don't have to spend all weekend beating our clothes down at the stream with a rock. We can throw them in a.
I prefer to do that. I don't want your dishwashers, and people would look at you weird if you were stood by the river now, smacking your clothes on a stone at the river. People would think, there's something gone wrong with this person. He needs medical attention.
Right. They'd take you off to an institution, right?
Yeah.
But in any case, so that's what's important now, and that's why there's so much going on, and that's why you can kind of feel a certain energy in the air. That yes, when you just before we started the show, you said, I feel like one day we're going to wake up and everybody, we'll be in a room and there'll be a little applause and they'll say, "Good job, Martin. Good job, Tom." That's because you are seeing that point where we get to that critical mass, and the whole thing turns positive instead of being so negative. You're seeing that because that's why we're here. That's the point of you and I being here at this time. And you've been through a rather unusual path to get to the point where you're being helpful. But you had to get through all that. You had to experience it. You had to understand it. You had to get it all under control so that you could work with it. And you did so without anybody scooping you up and throwing you in an institution and locking the door and going away, because you've always been able to take care of yourself and figure things out and make your own choices. Yeah. So you were able to do that. So anyway, that's kind of the picture of why you went through all this stuff you did. It was all started out as just the way things were. You were a natural, but it started then to become a plan. And then it started, you're here for a purpose, and you're working on your purpose now. Yeah. You're fulfilling it. And I think that we'll come out the other end and we will succeed.
I see that beautiful day when all of the suffering, all of it, that day, okay, I literally see in my mind's eye. I see everyone high-fiving one another, hugging one another, loving on one another. Yeah. And all the fear, hate, and suspicion, and all of that weirdness, all gone. Not even in anyone's minds anymore, because that's just system implants, isn't it? All of the crazy ideas that pop into people's heads are not their natural ideas, are they?
Yes.
We're primal beings, aren't we?
Yes. You see, we have a thing called culture, and that culture is just a collective consciousness. That collective consciousness of all the people that are a member of a particular thing, whether it's a nation or a religion or a tribe or whatever. If you're a member of it, then you and all the other members create a culture for that thing, and so we create cultures for ourselves, and that negativity in that culture is our own creation. So we can turn that around on a dime if we change the way we think.
Cure the world overnight. All opposition taken away. All the borders, all of the different religions, all of the different countries. Just one people's all together. Yeah. Let's just get on with it with love.
So that is possible. People look at that and say that's impossible. We can't get there from here.
It's not fanciful ideal at all.
And
that's going to happen. It's too late.
Not even that hard. All we people have to do is grow up. Yeah. And you can't make anybody else grow up. So if you really want to help, just grow yourself up. That's the point. Get rid of your fear. Ask, how can I help? How can I be of service? What can I do?
I do try with them, Tom. But if they're not going to, if I don't see a spark or nothing, you're not going to get anywhere. I just give up. I just think it's just not worthy. It's just not worth it.
Well, you can't push somebody to become something that's not inside. Matter of fact, if you try to push them, you make it worse.
I do.
Yeah, it makes them even more negative, and it goes in the opposite direction. You have to be gentle with people and kind to people. It can't be all right, everybody line up. Listen, here's what we're going to do. That's more control, power, force. That doesn't work.
No, man, I don't do that. See, that's another thing I won't do. If someone tells me to stand there, I'm going to go over there. Can't do them at all.
Yeah, well, you and I are the same that way. I've always had a problem with arbitrary authority. That's always been something that.
I think for myself, I always think I can do a better job as well of it, and I usually can, Tom, as well. You know, when I'm left to my own devices, I always, you know, any job that I've ever had in, you know, I've always been in no time at all. Like, you know, I'm the best in you. You know, I'm literally running the show, and they all, you know, every single job. But I tried harder. I was, you know, I just for what? I don't even know why people take jobs so seriously when they were just, you know, garbage jobs. But I did. You know, anything that I put myself into, I put all of myself into to be the best of what I can do, which is what I try to do now in my truthing.
Yes, well, that's true. You know, anything worth doing is worth doing right.
Yeah.
Even if it's a simple thing like washing your dishes, you know,
No,
anything worth doing, you got to do it right and do it well.
No washing dishy with Martin. No. I don't do that. I cannot stand washing dishes. Okay, I don't know why. Yeah, maybe it's just a man thing, but no.
Well, they need to be washed.
I know, but I just don't like to.
And you need to find somebody else that doesn't mind washing them for you. You see that, and you can do things for them that they don't like to do, and they do things for you that you don't like to do, and you find other people. That's the whole point. You know, that's how we grow up. Relationships. Relationships is where the rubber meets the road and personal growth. And the people that can help you grow the most, your best teachers, are the people who are closest to you, because those are the people that'll push every one of your buttons. They'll challenge you, and they will, you know, they will call it the way they see it. Yeah. And that you have to deal with that. And that means you have to get rid of your fear, get rid of your ego, stop being defensive. So those people, you know, our significant others, our families.
I jump on the defensive. I do that. That's ego driven. But I do that. I just noticed.
Yeah. So those are things. That's why relationship is so valuable. And it's part of the reason we're driven toward relationship, is that's the place where you learn the most.
Oh, that's my wealth. That's where I'm so rich. Is I've got really, really groovy friends. I'm so lucky. And proper, real love. You know, not just much love. This is like we love one another. You know, and it's a beautiful thing, man. So that's what this community is like, though. They're really, really empathetic people, all of them. You know, I have hardly any trolls or any bad vibes going on in my community whatsoever. It's just we've got that much of a balance of love going on. They just, the radiance, they're like, oh, what is it? I'm going to get burned by Martin Love. You know, so they don't come.
Well, that's the way it is. You know, once you get a bunch of people together who are positive, well, that positivity just creates more positivity that creates more positivity, and it just builds.
It does.
And other people come in contact with it, even if they come in negative. Before long, they turn positive too, because that's a positive culture. A culture tends to make the people in the culture more like, you know, more like the collective consciousness.
Yeah, sure.
You start to act like other people in your culture. So when you have a culture that's very negative, well, people get into that and they get more negative. It kind of drags them down, gives them negativity.
But it's all fear-based. Look, everything that they do is like, you know, anything off the news is give them on a lower vibrational quality. People are literally, they have to put on the news because they're bad wired to that negative energy. You know, even if they left the news off, they'd be like, oh, I got to know what's going on and what terrible things in the world. Yeah. And switch totally on. They just, you know, they're hardwired into just this bad vibe.
That's part of it. And the other part of it is that a lot of people just have to have something going on all the time to distract them, because if they were just left in a quiet place with themselves, they wouldn't be able to stand it, because they're really running away from themselves. Yeah. They don't want to be introspective. They don't want to look inside and see what's in there.
No, a distraction. No, I know. That's right.
Scares people to death. I mean, there are people that'll turn their TV or radio on and not watch it. Just leave it blaring on and on. Just put the noise in the background so that they don't ever get in a moment where they have to actually think inward and see themselves. Yes. So it's that you got to keep that distraction going so you never actually come eyeball to eyeball with yourself. and have to admit what's going on and who you are and what you're about. So yes, so people have to know what's going on in the news, partly because they're tuned into that negative vibe, and part of that just comes in our our instincts. Things that are negative are things that are tagged off into survival. You want to know about the ugly things that are negative because you want to watch out and make sure they don't get you. So if there's a tiger in the neighborhood, prowling around, you want to know about that. That's important. So anything that's harmful and destructive, you want to know about it. So that's one reason people tend to go to the negative. It's part of our instincts, our focus on what can hurt you. But the other reason is that they look at the negative world and what's going on, and it makes them feel better about themselves because they see all this ugliness and they say, well, I'm not that ugly. So, there's some hope for me. I'm not that bad. Look at those people. They're all down there fighting and punching each other, and I wouldn't do that. Like so they get a little bit of a ego boost by comparing themselves to the bad things that they see on TV. So they get a little bit boost from their instincts seeing the scary things on TV, and then they get a little a salve to their pain by letting the TV just mesmerize them so they don't really ever have to meet themselves. So it's a combination of all that stuff coming together, just traps people into this negative worldview. And when you have negative thoughts and negative feelings and fears, you create that for your future. That starts making that kind of negative stuff more possible.
Wave function collapse terms, you're making that happen.
Yeah, it makes it happen. So you got all these negative people all going, oh no, I live in a horrible place. Things are so awful. Woe is me.
They got a horrible life around them because they just mirror need to happen. It's mirroring them.
And they help keep it negative for everybody. See, but that's why we get that 10 or 20% that's positive. That'll be such a change that it'll start to help everybody. It'll start to catch on to that. It'll be a critical mass, and then it goes on by itself. But we got to reach that critical mass, and that's what we're working on. So for all your listeners out there, if you want to save the world, well, you do it by saving yourself first. Get the negativity out of your life. If there's anything in your life that's negative, in other words, if you ever feel angry or upset or annoyed or feeling insecure or unhappy, struggling, all this stuff's negative. You need to let it go. Just let it be. Say, it is the way it is. I don't have to sit around and shake my fist at it and get angry. That's the way it is. But I'm going to be positive.
It's part of it. It's just, it's part of the game. And it's
where we are.
It's where we are.
It's where we are now. It's the level of our quality of consciousness in humanity. That's it. It's negative. But if you change yourself, you'll help the people around you change them, and they'll help the people around them change others. And that's where it's got to start, with individuals. So that's the main thing. That's the best thing, the most powerful thing that you can do to change this world, is to get rid of your own negativity. Be positive. Always be positive. Don't get defensive. Don't get angry. Don't point at other people and blame them for things that are going on in your life. Take responsibility. If you get angry, that's your choice to be angry. You don't have to be angry. You choose to be angry because your fear is sitting there just resonating because somebody said something that's torqued your fear up, and now you get angry. Well, you need to get over that fear. Then you could choose to be some other way. So that's what I mean by growing up. And if we do that, then we've made our best contribution to not only ourselves, but to the world in general. And if enough of it do it, the world will just turn on a dime within 5 or 6 years.
Make or break it time, and that is it. Now, right now, in the next, as you said, in the next 10, 20 years, it's the make or break of humanity. Whether we're going to live in like that crazy tyranny hate state forever, which I really don't fancy.
Yeah, next 10 to 20 years will make it or break it. I think that's it. We'll either do very badly, make terrible choices, and start de-evolving till we get to a point that we can turn around and start evolving again. and we will, even if that happens, if we de-evolve, it won't just keep going all the way back to zero until we disappear. It'll get to a point where the evolution can turn back around and start chugging forward again. Evolution is slow, but it's relentless. And we will get there. We will get to that world that is happy and profitable and kind to everybody.
It exists somewhere, doesn't it, in the future? So it exists now in my mind. Yeah. And I watched your post the other day about reincarnation. So I am a definite advocate of reincarnation. I've had some happenings where in my years in the Merchant Navy, which definitely point towards previous knowledge of places that I've been to. Okay, like knowing what's around the next corner, Tom, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And also recurring memories since I was a small child of how I died in some of these previous lives. And birth, and moment of birth as well. I remember.
Yeah, well, the reason reincarnation is a logical necessity in the construction of a model of reality is that if what we need to do is grow up, growing up is not that easy.
Popping and changing,
changing yourself is not that easy, and you need lots of opportunities. You know, if you got in a new game, if you join, World of Warcraft or some other big multiplayer game, and you only had one chance, as soon as somebody kills you and you're gone, well, that's it. You got to play. You can't play that game anymore. You got to do something else.
Back to the beginning. Yeah.
So that's that doesn't work. It takes a lot of effort through a lot of different learning situations with a lot of different situations. You need to experience being male, being female, being rich, being poor, being black, being white, being Asian, you need to experience all of that, because once you have that bigger perspective, it helps you grow up. It helps you see things differently. And the only way to do that is to have something like reincarnation. It gives us not just one shot at growing up, but it gives us thousands of shots at growing up. And we need it because we are so slow to change who we are. Because that's what it's about, is changing who we are. It's not about changing our behavior. There's a big difference between, acting kind and being kind.
I know, it's our vibration, and it has to be from the angle of genuine love, and compassion, empathetic. You know what that person's feeling. I love you. That,
Right. Yeah. So it's nice, it's civilizing if everybody acts better, but that's not what we're about. Everybody has to be better. They have to change who they are, and that's a hard thing to do. It takes a lot of time. So that's where the reincarnation comes from. It's a necessary part of the nature of reality. Otherwise, the game wouldn't make any sense.
No, that makes sense. Because I think that I have messed up this game a few times before. I think this time is the one time that I've actually cracked it. I feel like that I'm definitely good at this game, better than I initially thought. Okay, because I did have some doubts, Tom, and then they were the doubts that were my blockages in my conscious evolution. Okay, but they're all gone now, because all of the things that I literally imagined happened. I imagined I wanted to be an author. It happened. I imagine I want to have a big convention. It happens. I imagine I want to go to America, fall in love, all the rest, things like that. I imagine all of these things. And it's magic, is it?
Yep. You modify future probability with your intent.
But so you've got the right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you change the probabilities. The future is not a done deal. It's it's in flux. But you can change the probabilities of what's going to happen next just with your intent. So positive people have a tendency to create positive things in their life, and negative people create negative things in their life. And a whole bunch of people, 6 or 7 billion people watching the evening news, all of them seeing negativity, that feeds the negativity that we've got.
Yeah, and mostly a pack of lies as well.
Okay. Mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly put up to help us see things in the right way.
For the show, for the masses, all the different theaters, like the theater of war. They don't call it the theater of war for nothing,
Yeah.
What about like they say to us, and you're delusional? Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because you're like the illusion that we're in. So it's the illusion. You're delusion. I was like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Particular
A
questions?
million. I have like 300 people in the chat just watching now. Now, I'm guessing like they all pretty much up on who you are, Tom, yeah, and your achievements in this place. So like the things like in the Monroe Institute. Now I know for a fact that you accomplished remote viewer along the lines of like Ingo Swann and the Great. Is this something I'm right to say about, or do you comment on?
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. When I was at the Monroe Institute, I was just a typical hard-headed physicist wanting to see whether any of this was real and how did it work and why did it work and what were the, what were the limits and all of that. So I'm trying to figure it all out. And the way we figured it out is by doing paranormal things and then assessing, were we able to do that? So remote viewing is just one of the paranormal things, and it's a good one to practice with because you can get immediate feedback.
What about telekinesis?
You done that? Telekinesis is another thing. You can make things move, with your mind, but under certain conditions, we'll get into that. I don't want to keep jumping down rabbit holes and running off in other directions.
Funnily enough, the story of Alice in Wonderland was on the 4th of May when she went on the rabbit hole, which is coincidentally today.
Well, she learned a lot down that rabbit hole. She grew up and learned a lot. If you pay attention, you can learn a lot from the things that happen to you. But yeah, so I did a lot of paranormal things. We did the remote viewing. We did healing. We tried to look into the future, read what the headline would be on the local paper, in a week. Bob would put numbers on a chalkboard after we were in our booths, and we would try to read the number. We did lots of things like that. Went to people's homes that we knew that we'd agreed that we could do that and see what was going on, and we'd say, oh yeah, they were there, they were watching this program, they were doing that, the popcorn fell on the floor and the dog ate it, and so you can get that, and then you call them up on the phone right afterwards and said what just went on in your house, and they tell you. So we did that for years. We did that hundreds, probably thousands of times, and eventually you get to a point where you no longer question, is this real? You know it's real, and your statistics that judge, how real it is, like how, you come up with a quality statistic, like that this just happened by chance, it's 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 100,000 that you would just happen to see the dog eat the popcorn, because the dog usually doesn't eat the popcorn. That's like it's only like something that happened, that time, and the only time it ever happened, and you see it. So you start looking at the probability, and yes, it gets huge. And 100,000 to 1 that you just are lucky guesser, that there's not something really going on. And that for us was clear pretty early on that it was real enough, but we didn't know why it was going on or what was going on. We just knew that these things were possible. But eventually you get to enough personal experiences that you just stop asking, is this real? You just know it. You know it down as deep as you can go. This is real. Now the question is no longer, is this a real thing, or is this just some kind of, brain fart going on, some kind of, magic, cosmic rays to the corpus callosum, is it some kind of thing like that? And you realize, no, it can't be any of those things. There's no physical answer. There is a larger reality out there than the physical, and all of that non-physical space has point, purpose, reason, and logic to it. There's reasons why things are the way they are. And now, instead of trying to convince yourself that it's real, it's like, why is it like that? Where did it come from? How does it work? Why am I sometimes much better at it than I am other times? What are the variables? What are the variables that are important? So I did lots of those things then. And at that point, I was probably a pretty good remote viewer. I could go out of body in, 10 seconds or less. It wasn't a thing I had to sit down and work on. I didn't even have to lie down. I could stand up and be having a conversation with somebody telling me about their mother got ill, and I could be, looking at the mother or deciding what's wrong with her, what she needed help at, and be healing her all the time. I was still carrying on a conversation with the person. So you get to be able to multifunction. Just that was natural for you to be in 2 or 3 realities at the same time. I had to learn how to do that so that I could be in several realities operating, functioning in those realities all at the same time. So remote viewing was something I was pretty good at. Now, I don't practice it anymore because you get to a certain point and it doesn't matter
Well, what is
anymore.
the practical application anyway? It's not like you're going to be like a psychic spy or anything for the government.
No, well, there's some applications for it. I'm backing my car out of a parking space and I have a van on either side of me, and I have to back out, and I can't see what's going on there, and I won't see it until almost all of my car's out. 2/3 of my car is out before I get to look around the back of that truck and to see if anything there's going to plow into the side of me. So I can just sit and wait for one of those trucks to move, or I just back out very, very slowly and figure if anybody sees me coming, they'll realize it and they'll wait. But I can remote view it, and you can see what's back there, you see. So there is some value in it, but not much. And I have learned that the more power you gain in doing paranormal things, the less you tend to do paranormal things, because you realize they're just not that important. It's the paranormal things was like a flower, and I was the bee. It attracted me, and I went, oh, that would be really interesting to do those kinds of things. It would help me convince myself it was true. So I went for those things, but then eventually it's like, you don't want to live in a bubble. You see, okay, you can modify future probability, and you can live in this bubble where nothing ever surprises you because you're always looking at the database for the probable things. And if somebody gets ill, you can fix it. And then, and you've just then taken away your own natural ability to learn. You're not living in the real world anymore. You're living in a bubble that you've created around yourself that doesn't have any problems in it, but it doesn't have any, opportunities in it either. It's devoid of opportunity. Those opportunities are those things that you have to deal with, and deal with them by expressing who you are and how you are and your ability to care about other people. So if you live in this bubble where everything just floats around nicely, you basically shut yourself off from further growth. So you just quit. You stop doing it. You live like everybody else. You find out when it happens. You don't look for things. You don't. If somebody's ill, well, they're ill, they'll get over it, or they won't. It's part of their life experience. You don't have to butt in and manipulate everything to be the way you want it. That's just wrong. So you learn that and you give it up and you stop doing it. And it's just when you have to occasionally, and if somebody just needs a little help, and you still do things off and on, but you don't make it a
lifetime.
You don't make it some core part of your life.
No.
It's not. It's just way out on the edges of your life.
I've been there. I give away like at least a decade to caring for the sick and elderly of my life, of my youth, I should say.
So yeah, I was at Monroe Institute and I learned all those things, but I don't do them very much anymore. Just special occasions that need a little something.
Well, when you did you because obviously you're trying to make an understanding of spirituality and the crossover with maybe using the explanation of quantum mechanics to try and make sense of the strangeness and the double split experiment for a start off. It's I tried to reenact this in my bedroom, by the way. It didn't work. And just to let you know, there was no interference pattern in my bedroom.
Well, what happened was I published these books in 2003 in February, and about 2 years later, I realized when somebody asked me a question and I was answering their question, I realized that the same understanding that creates this understanding of consciousness gave me an understanding of quantum physics. I
Exactly.
understood what it. You see, quantum physicists right now have this big problem. They have a thing that
There's
they
more than
say
one
that the
problem.
wave function collapses to a physical particle.
Measurement problem.
Yeah, there is no particle. There's a
No.
wave function, and a wave function isn't anything at all. It's not physical.
No,
It's just
exactly.
probability. It's mathematics. And then somehow that mathematics collapses to a particle. And you ask a physicist, well, how does that happen? What do you mean mathematics collapses to a physical particle? Sounds kind of crazy. And
Yeah.
they'll tell you, I have no idea what that means. You know, obviously it's a metaphor that we've made up to explain what we see, but I have no idea what's really going on. But once you understand consciousness, you know exactly
Makes
what's
sense.
going on. It's nothing, it's not weird science, like they say, it's logical science. What's going on is that the way the system determines what to render next in those cases where next is unknown is it takes a random draw from a probability distribution of the possibilities, and that's what gets rendered.
And that'll be collapsed. And
And
that'll
that's
be it.
it. That's the
Yeah.
wave function collapsing, you see. So there's no wave function. And it doesn't collapse to physical particles. All that's nonsense. There is a virtual reality, and that virtual reality is not from the ground up. It doesn't start with with subatomic particles and
I'm
then
so pleased you're
atoms.
saying
It
this.
starts at
This
the top
music.
down. It's a probabilistic model, and when you have a probabilistic model, there's nothing that tells you how the future is going to turn out. In other words, if you got a model from the bottom up and you know where every particle is now, well, you can say where particles are going to be next because you know where the velocities are, what's changing, what's about to pop, you know all that stuff. So you can
Yeah.
predict exactly what's going to
It's
happen next.
counterintuitive for a reason.
But when you've got a probability model, there's no way to know what's going to happen next. So you do that with a random draw from the probability distribution of the possibilities. And that's how you determine what happens next. For an example of that, you've got a scientist who's got a better telescope than anybody's ever had before. So he's going to see more about what's in outer space than anybody's ever seen before. So he puts his scope up and he turns it on. Now, there's a certain set of possibilities of what he might see. Possibilities. And those possibilities are constrained by the kind of things we know are in space. He's not going to see a bunch of dancing hippos. He's going to see something like is out in outer space. But there's literally thousands of different things they could see. So each one has a different probability. Some things you see a lot of, some things you see less. Well, you go into all those thousands of things that he could see, take a random draw from the probability distribution, and that's what the system renders to that telescope. It's a virtual telescope and a virtual human, an avatar. And
Okay, now I'm starting to get what you're
it
saying.
renders that scene that it just drew from that random draw
Ah.
into that telescope. And that guy looks at it and says, "Oh, wow, did you get that picture?" "Sure." And he writes his publication. And now anybody else who looks there will see that. Because once it comes into the reality, it stays in the reality. It's
Because
just
of the nature of
find
consciousness.
that now, you see? So that's the way our reality works. And it works on things like big telescopes, not just little tiny particles that you can't see. So this idea of the collapse of the wave function to a physical particle, it's not just about little particles. It's not just about quantum physics. That's how everything. You dig a hole in your backyard. What are you going to find in that hole? Well, who knows? You take out a shovel full of dirt and you look in there, and what is it going to render? Well, it's going to take a random draw from a distribution of the probabilities. That's what you're going to find in a hole. So that same concept drives our whole reality, and it's necessary because it's a probabilistic driven reality with a rule set that creates a more deterministic set of rules. But how those rules get applied and what they do is all done in probability. So that's how quantum physics works. And then once I realized how quantum physics actually worked and demystified that, relativity was next. How does relativity work? Well, relativity basically exists because of one unknown, one paradox, and that is the speed of light's a constant. Well, nothing else has a constant speed like that. Everything
186,000 miles a second, but that's been recently disputed.
186,000 miles per second. Yeah, something like that. That's rough.
And they just said that it's variable recently.
Changes a little bit from now and then. And then I have to think, well, why would it change a little bit from now and then? And then that was obvious because the value of C is actually a value of delta X over delta T, right? Distance over time. So you take your pixel of distance divided by your pixel of time, and you get the speed of light. Because as fast as you can move through any virtual reality is one pixel for every time increment. Next time increment, you can move another pixel. You can't move through a reality any faster than one pixel per one unit of time.
I like you saying pixels rather than photons.
Right.
You know?
This is a computed reality. This is a virtual reality.
It's ones and zeros, isn't it? If you think of the atom as two opposing toruses, a north and south magnet, if you like. So, you know, to me, I think everything is torus fields anyway. I really do.
So you have the world with pixels, because it's digital. It's a digital creation, and the size of those pixels depends on the you know, how much detail you want, how much what do they call it, resolution that you want in the model. So that's the maximum resolution. We'll give you this delta X over delta T as the speed of light, but the system operates not at the maximum resolution, because the more resolution you have, the more crunching you got to do to make it. So it doesn't use any more resolution than it needs to. But when it needs a little more resolution, how does it get that? Well, it makes delta T a little smaller, and it makes delta X a little smaller, tries to keep the ratio the same so the speed of light doesn't change, but it can't keep it exactly the same because these things are digital. Can't, you know, to keep it exactly the same, you'd have to split a little pixel up, because you'd land in the middle of a pixel. So you have to take, well, it's not quite as big enough to get to that pixel and a little too big for that last pixel. So we'll just have to make it a little bigger. So then the speed of light changes in the 8th decimal place because it needed a little more resolution, and it wanted to keep the speed of light the same, but because they're digital quantities, you can't, and they're not the same size, you know, this time and the distance are all the different sizes altogether. So you can't just divide each one of them by 2, say, to get something that is has double the resolution, because you can't just divide something by 2. It'll end up between pixels when you do that. You'll have to shift it. So that's why the speed of light changes a little bit from now and again, is because the system needs to change the resolution, because it doesn't want to use any more resolution than what we need at the time. You know, so that's, and the parts of the system are running at different resolutions.
Yeah, I've seen the sky go glitchy. Like one part of the sky be like ultra HD, and the other like literally undefined or unrendered. It's like, what am I looking at? I said to my son, it's like, what is that? It was just like whiteness and just nothing happening. The other side of the sky was HD quality. I'm like, I think this is a glitch in the matrix here. I think really. Yeah, well,
they were just showing you a picture to give you some idea what's going on. You know, it's just a little opportunity to learn something there. But so then I started looking at all the other paradoxes in science and biology and you know, all the sciences, and I found answers to all of them. The consciousness model explains all of those paradoxes. Just explains them just very clearly.
Covers everything. So what did you do with NASA as a nuclear physicist then?
Well, I didn't work with nuclear physics. That's what I worked in getting my PhD. I did research in nuclear physics, but once I got out of school, I didn't do any more nuclear physics. Any
practical work. Right?
I just did physics. And in industry, what you do with physics is you model things. You make computer models of things. So with NASA, I was with a group that was supposed to determine what are the possible things that could go wrong, and what's the probability that they will go wrong. In other words, you've got this rocket and this machine, and it's got 10,000 parts, made by 3,000 different vendors, and they throw it all together.
Like
And
Apollo 11, there must have been a million billion problems with that craft.
yes, exactly. So there's lots of things that could go wrong, and then you have to see how one thing affects another. So if this piece, let's say, just goes 10% out of whack, because of a component going bad, then what does that do to the piece that's downstream from it that it feeds? Okay, so now it feeds it a number that's a little wrong. And then that piece feeds something else because it's this big chain of events. And the chain is hundreds of events long. So you get this little piece has a problem, which causes this piece to have a little problem, which causes that piece to have a big problem, which would cause this thing to blow the whole thing up. So we were looking at these tens of thousands of pieces and trying to come up with the path of risk for every path. So what could possibly go wrong, and what's the probability of it going wrong? And that required this super big, complicated mathematical model of the system, of the missile, the rocket that's going up. So it had to be all the systems that were in there, not just the thrust, and not just this, and not everything, as far as even the communications with it back at the control. What if there were errors there, and how could they make things go wrong? So I had a reputation in the community of making big complex models, and they are hard to make because when you have thousands of variables, it's like, where do you start? Everything affects everything else. How do you start? It's a really difficult process.
What about man going to the moon? Did you have to draw a probability on the chances of that actually happening?
Yeah, no, that happened when I was a kid.
Yeah, I thought that.
I wasn't in the system then, but yeah, when I got done, one of the things I tested my model, I went through all the previous launches, and I looked at all the launches, and I predicted. I said, here's how many launches could have failed, just using the statistics and probability. This is the high probability. This many launches should have failed up to this time. Just from the number of launches that had gone on, and I hit the number right on the nose. They went back and counted all the launches they'd had, and that was the number that had failed. So I had some tests like that to see that the model I was making, was accurate. So I did that kind of a work for them. And the reason I did it as a consultant was because nobody in-house had a clue how to put a model like that together. It's just really hard to wrap your mind around something that's got that many variables. Yeah, but sure. I had a reputation in the community for being able to do that. And the reason I was able to do that wasn't because I was smarter than anybody else. It's because I'd solve it intuitively, not logically, and not intellectually. The intellectual solution was just way too complicated to come up with, too many variables. But I just started working I just get an intuition of where to start, and I'd start there and what to add to it and what to add to it and where to go next. And eventually, given a year or two, I ended up with I had like 3 or 4 or 5 programmers that worked for me, and I did all the equations. I'd write a page of equations here, go program this, and somebody else. So I had like these 5 people, and I'm feeding them equations for a couple of years, and then put it all together, and it worked. It was a good model, so they were very happy. But then when my time's up as a consultant, the good thing about being a consultant is you just do the fun stuff. You don't have to go to the meetings, where everybody sits around and tells what they're doing and what's going on, and because you're not in that. You're just in this one little thing. This is your thing. You do it. Nobody ever bothers you because nobody has a clue what you're doing, and you try to explain it to them and they don't understand. So they just leave you alone, and they keep wanting you to do little tests like how many, according to your model, how many crashes or how many systems should have blown up when they really didn't have any reason. Nobody knew why. And sure enough, so that's what I did. I made these models. I started intuitively, and that enabled me to do things that were hard to do. So I got jobs as consultants, and I didn't have to go to meetings. I didn't get into politics.
The NASA gang.
Yeah, I didn't get into anything other than doing my work with a bunch of really neat kids. Most of my programmers were young people, in their early 20s, early 30s sometimes. It was just a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun, and I love work when it's all fun and no drudgery.
We all want, and in a job that we actually like,
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, when I was actually punching the time clock, I didn't care for it so much, but as a consultant, it was just all you did was the fun things. And
you don't know what anyone else is doing. Like with rocket building, it's all compartmentalized, isn't it? Nobody knows what's going on in the next office or the next room, do they? So you're just
So anyway, that's what I did at NASA. Risk analysis, I guess, is what it came under.
Yeah. Oh, that's super interesting. See, I'm not really actually buying anything that NASA are presenting on the internet. I'm not. I think there's something definitely going on. I think they're using CGI, augmented reality, and they've been caught out a dozen times. They're lying for some reason. Okay, they are 100%. You have to be a fool not to notice what they're up to, specifically with like the ISS, for example.
Yeah.
Spacewalks.
Well, not down at the level. Not down at the level where I was. Down at the level where I was down in the guts of the machine, figuring out problems, and that was stuff they needed to know in order to design and build the rocket that would actually work and not blow up, not malfunction. They needed to know all these things so that they could fix them, so that they can, hey, this is a problem and its probability is only 1 in 300. Oh, we better pay attention to that one. We've only got so much money. Here's one, and its probability is 1 in 20,000. Well, we don't have to spend money there. Let's spend money on the one that has the higher probability of happening. So they had to shift their budget and their design and other things to fix those problems or build redundancy in, or that kind of stuff. So I was down at the place where the rockets and all the subsystems were in design. Is where I was. Now, if things come out of NASA that aren't true, well, if you go up to the very top of the office, then you have a politician, because the head of NASA is somebody that gets appointed. He's an appointed guy, so that becomes political work, and his job doesn't have anything to do with making rockets work. His job has to do with getting budget. He's a budget guy, and getting budget means he has to play the game with Congress and with the military, and you play games with those guys, then they do you a favor, you do them a favor.
You scratch my back, I scratch yours, but I think there's I just not buying any of it. It just doesn't instinctively. I feel like they're lying through their teeth.
Well,
I don't think the rockets are actually going anywhere. I really don't. I think that they're arcing and coming back down in the water. I really do.
You should really be skeptical of everything.
I am.
Now, I would not go so far as say I don't trust anything they're saying. I would go, I'm skeptical of everything.
What about nuclear bombs? You're a nuclear physicist, so did they definitely master the implosion technique, for example? Folding into another dimension and exploding exponentially out from another dimension.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with other dimensions.
No,
it just has to do with you get enough. If it's an atomic bomb, then you have to get enough neutrons around to make the thing go critical. And if it's hydrogen, you just have to get enough heat and pressure together so that you get the hydrogen to change. And that's all. It's just straight physics and chemistry. There's nothing magical and dimensions and all of that's nonsense.
That's exactly what I think.
But in any case, you should always be skeptical of everything.
I turn everything into a court case. I just want to see evidence. I want to see proof. I'm the same with absolutely everything.
That's it. That's what you do. So you take something and you say, well, I don't really know much about this, and I probably never will, because in order to know something, you have to be there. You have to be part of that organization. So give it a 0.6 being true, 0.6 in probability. Or I'll give it a 0.06 if I think it's really far-fetched. But I never give anything a 1 or a 0, because that means that's false or that's true. So you'll put your thing, maybe even a 0.0006, you know, if I think it's really, really likely that that's, but you don't make anything for sure, because as soon as you say that's a 1 and that's a 0, that's called a belief.
Yeah.
Then you're in a belief trap.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
you start believing things. So it's
So were you
better
involved
just
in
to array
Challenger?
everything. What's that?
Did you do breakdown for Challenger? You know, the
No,
Blue.
Challenger happened before I started working there.
Oh, okay.
That was before my time.
All
But yeah, matter of fact, you know, Challenger probably would have showed up as as in my probability of that happening eventually. It wouldn't necessarily show up that'll happen on Challenger. This is probability and statistics, you know. So you only say this is likely to happen at something. It's not that, oh, something's going to happen on this mission. It's that things are likely to happen. What's the probability of them happening?
Yeah, like one O-ring failed. It was apparently, according to Richard Feynman.
Yeah, and that was just a bad political call.
Yeah.
You know, the engineer said, don't go, don't go. It's too cold. That O-ring wasn't made to go in this temperature. And the guy sitting up at the top who had the rule, who could say go or no go, he had all this political pressure to go. He had all these important people there. And he just said, well, you know, this is so important. I got all this stuff pending and go for it. And it was a bad call. He should have listened to his engineer. So that's when politics, you know, gets in the way.
Gets in the way of everything. Yeah, but it's just if you knew the O-ring was dodgy, it's like how many parts on a ship could be like, you know. I worked in the merchant navy. Everything went wrong all the time when I was in the engine room, you know. And we always looked like we were in the trenches covered in oil, and it was always like great stress and trauma trying to fix things to save our lives. And, you know, I just imagine that would be the same with the space program.
Yeah,
but,
well, it is. It's just, there's literally tens of thousands of things that could go wrong. Yeah. And you have to understand each one of them and understand its probability and its seriousness. Because some things can go wrong, which maybe make 2 or 3 pieces go wrong, but they get down to the 4th piece and it's got a lot of stability and it ends there. The 4th piece does its job anyway, even though it got garbage input, because of the way that piece is made, you see. So you just have to trace everything through all the paths that they go, and the paths interact each other. You know, this thing changes, that 4th path you get to is change, has 5 different states it can be in, depending on, you know, some other variable, and that variable has 20 states that it can be in. And this whole big mass of stuff that's all changing and shifting and going around, and it's a big problem. And the only way you can do that is model it with a computer, because no mind can.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
no mind can look at that and figure out what's going on. You have to have a really big computer model, and it's really hard to make that kind of a computer model because you have so many variables and so many things that are possible. So but it's possible to make the model. You just have to know how to approach it and how to do it and what needs to be modeled in which way, and eventually you get something that works. So it was fun. I had a good time in that job, but that was my 3rd time to retire. I had already retired 3 times. The job back
you're not retiring again now, are you?
No, I'm not anymore. I've had people come and ask, would you come? You know, we need somebody to make a model and we don't know how to do it and we can't find anybody to do it. Would you come back? And they offer tremendous salaries, but I'm just not interested anymore. I don't want to do that. That's not the phase of my life I'm in. Now I'm into the phase of my life where I'm trying to change people's attitudes toward being more positive and letting go of the fear. And that to me is a whole lot more important than rockets flying in the air. You know, that's more significant. So
I think it's just an absolute waste of time. Like all of it. I just don't even think it's even important to anybody, actually, for all of it. The money spent, the 83 million a week, whatever is going on, I think it's an absolute waste of time for humanity. To go forward, I think all of that foolishness of like what they say they got in mind, and I think should be stopped.
And a lot of that I would agree with you. You know, there's some residual benefits in it, but are the benefits worth the cost? Probably not.
Well, what are the benefits?
Oh, example, you got all kinds of nice technologies pop out of things like that, like the ability the ability to make artificial limbs, and so people who can't walk can walk. All of those materials come out of carbon substrate, something or other, and all those materials were generated in missile programs and that kind of stuff, and then they find usefulness like helping people walk. So there's been a lot of things that have been useful, even Teflon. All the
Teflon, Velcro, thanks NASA.
Lots of, well, I don't think Velcro was one of them, but there were lots of things that have bubbled out that have been
bubbled out. Funny you should say that.
Yeah, good technologies that have helped a lot of people. So that's nice. But is that worth all the money that gets put into it? That's what you have to look at. So the benefits.
I mean, they can't have been that efficient with artificial limbs, because I literally dug up only a few months ago First World War survivors, and you want to see the technologically superior automated limbs that they had on them in the First World War. Okay, I mean, they had like little servers on them so that they bent and there was no effort. And it's like, I was thinking to myself, they haven't even got that now. So I don't think they're doing that well. I can prove it to you. I can prove that they had more advanced prosthetics after the First World War than they got now.
More advanced what? Prosthetics?
Like artificial limbs, legs, for example. Yeah, with motorized help and servers on them to help the person walk and stuff. Honestly, really advanced stuff.
Yeah, well, one of the problems, of course, is it's not so matter that things are beyond our technology as they are not economical. There's a lot of things we could do that we don't do because they would be prohibitively costly. Well, and that's our technology doesn't do everything it can. There's lots of things it could be doing that it doesn't do just because it doesn't fit an economic model.
Yeah, sure. It's not financially viable. They're not going to go forward with it.
Right. If somebody's not going to make a profit, then they're not going to do it just because it would be helpful. But see, if we had a bunch of people doing things just to be helpful, nobody give a damn about the profit. They could do anything they wanted just because they thought it would be helpful and make it available to the people who needed it. See, that would be a big advantage of being in that realm where love and peace and
let me ask you another question. Okay, so subjective, objective realities. Right, now say, for example, you were standing on a beach during sunset and the sliver of light from the sunset lands at your feet when you're standing on the beach. Yet 500 miles up the coast, there's another person who's seeing the same sun and the same sliver of light going to their feet. So what's going on exactly? It's not two separate suns and two separate slivers of light, is it? So
yes, it is. Two separate slivers of light. It is. The light shines in all directions. That sun shines light out this way and that way. So light just goes out in all directions.
So it doesn't sort of sink towards a subjective experience then, you don't think?
So what?
You don't think that is a subjective experience, that person is experiencing just that, and the next person 500 miles up the beach is experiencing exactly the same thing?
Well, it depends on what the experience is. If the experience is a physically explainable experience, they're getting light, and it just so happens that it hits in the air in just such a way that it lands right there at your feet on the beach. I mean, the line between light and dark has to come someplace as the sun goes down.
I get that.
It occurs at your feet. That's one thing. Now, if it's something that it doesn't have a good physical explanation, now you're talking about things that are, yes, in a subjective space, not in an objective space. And in that case, the fact that the two have the exact same experience, well, that means this is a virtual reality, and the system put that same experience in both data streams. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I'm saying. And that is proof for me. But I've had a couple of experiences this week where the simulation, for whatever reason, showed itself to be like the most beautiful you could ever see. Honestly, I was just like, it was breathtaking, just drawn to tears, that sort of thing, with just the natural beauty of it. But I keep getting this sneaking suspicion that something's happened. It really doesn't feel like the same realm as before. I know it sounds nuts. but like it's like almost like this simulation's a bit of a copy. You know, there are differences. The differences in the hues, in the colors, in the people. People look different in my life. In the tastes of foods. There's 100 differences that I could mention from the world that I remember, say, before. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't really feel. It's like it's an imitation of life, like a poor copy, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, your reality is personal to you.
Yeah.
You are not sharing a big reality with a lot of other people. Everybody has their own reality. Because it's a multiplayer game, then there are connections, there's cross connections between that, so that we all agree that, this brown wooden thing in front of us is a table. And I see it's a table and you see it's a table. We all see it's a table because this is a multiplayer game. And I'm given what you see, you're given what I see, and we see the same thing. But now we're a couple of 100 miles away. That's not true anymore. Okay, now your reality is the data, is your interpretation of the data you receive. Period. You get data and you interpret it, and your interpretation is the reality. Now, your interpretation is not necessarily exactly like the data you got. You interpret it based on your fear, your love, your knowledge, your ignorance, everything that makes you up. That's how you interpret it. You do like a pattern match. You go into your experience and you try to find something that matches what you're seeing now. And if it looks exactly like you got a pattern for that, you say, that's an apple. I've got a pattern for an apple, and that little red round thing with the stem is an apple. But if you go looking in your base and you don't find anything like what you're looking at, you don't know what the hell it is.
No frame of reference for it. Yeah.
No frame of reference. You don't know, and you may not even see it. It may just kind of waver and go away because you don't have any way of connecting to it, of any idea what it is.
Do you want to have a drink of water or something? Clear your windpipe there. You seem to be having
I don't have one handy, but I do have another one of these lozenges.
Oh, they're quite good.
So they seem to help some if I can get one of those down. But anyway, everybody lives in their own reality. Some aspects of it are shared and some are not. It just depends.
Our own journeys. You lost your earbud.
I lost an earpiece.
Don't swallow the earbud.
Yeah. There we go.
I was just saying everybody's on their own journey and their own separate journey. Everyone's got their own journey in this place.
Absolutely. That is true. So what you see and how you compare it to the past is just yours. And if the system wants you to wake up one morning and find a unicorn, asleep on the floor of your bedroom, it could just put that into your data
out
stream.
Of the bed and fall off the edge of a cliff into the sea. Yeah, I get that. That's the way this reality is. So, but honestly, I'm having a really strange life that I've just been trying to come to terms with. It's not mental illness. There's been strange phenomena right the way through my life, and this field of inquiry is just trying to make sense of it. It's time. My purpose in this awakening, how I found myself in this point in time, this now, sat here talking to Tom Campbell, for example. You know what I mean? It's just what a crazy adventure. And this reality is changing and shifting constantly with this conscious evolution, I've noticed. Like no 2 days are the same. It is shifting. And you said, like, it's accelerating, isn't it? That quickening. So we got to get on it, haven't we? We got to.
Exactly.
Okay, no time to waste, yeah?
That is correct. So
I'm going to be all over this like a rash.
Yeah, we can, like you say, you make it or break it in the next couple of decades. It's time to grow up.
Yeah, man. I think we're all we're doing pretty well. I think we're going to got a few graduators. It's definitely going to graduate this place. And wake up in a pod in 1972 or something. That'd be funny. But no, thank you, Tom. And we come at the 2-hour mark now. That was fantastic. A lot of time to spend with me and my community. And I truly appreciate this. It is a weird meeting, actually. The irony is, I don't know whether you know, but my field, I do like alternative history, but I'm like one of the most well-known flat earthers in the world, sat with a NASA physicist, right? So I've got like everybody in the world, everybody wanting me to ask you these questions, but like I explained to them, we're here to talk about consciousness, although I would like to ask a load of questions. I just feel it'd be like busting your balls, so I'm not going to do that at all. So, but okay. The weird irony, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, this has been fun, Martin. Yeah. This has been fun. We're having a good time. I hope the people that are watching and listening have learned something valuable. I feel a little sad that they don't all get their questions answered, but you can't help that. We're just limited by time and so on.
Virtual hug for them that never got help. Virtual hug.
Yeah, virtual hug, right.
It works. Love bombs.
Oh, I do have something coming up though. A couple of things I can tell you.
Cool.
And before we end, and that is one of the tools that I'm going to have up in the next probably less than a month is going to be a MBT chatbot named Uncle Tom, and he is going to be able to have a discussion with you about all things MBT.
Oh, cool.
So that's going to be neat. So rather than just go there and use my search engine that searches through 5,000 hours of video, you can put a subject in. I've got that, but this is actually now you're going to be able to discuss it. So in natural language, you'll be able to.
Yeah, sure. That's good.
So that's going to be real good. Not that long ago, I put out, for those of your audience who are interested in experiencing the paranormal, I tell all my people, don't believe what I tell you. You have to experience it. It has to be your own experience. If you believe what I say, that's not helpful. That's not going to help you grow up. You got to experience it. It has to be your own experience. Otherwise, it's not your truth. It's not your experience. So when I told them that, they said, well, can you help us experience it? So I said, well, that's fair enough. So I put out a bunch of courses that I did to explain to people what are the paranormal things and what do they mean? How do they work? What's the mechanics of them? And what do you have to do to do them and to practice them? And then I help people and answer their questions and so on. So I distilled all of that about, 20 or 30 of these sessions, distilled all of that into just one program. And it's not all that expensive. And you go through that, and I will teach you how to do all the paranormal things, the telecommunications, the connecting with other entities, dead or alive, remote viewing, healing, all the stuff that people might like to do. So I teach all that. And if you go to mbtevents.com, that's Don and Keith, and they are the ones that do all of my planning. And if I have an event, they set it up, they do the venue, sure. They take care of all that kind of stuff. And their website has all the stuff on it that is for sale. And that's a thing you can get at, I think it's on Soundwise. It's an audio program. So you can buy this audio program if you're interested in the paranormal. If you have trouble in, say, going out of body or doing paranormal things because you're too left brain, you're just a logical process kind of guy, and you just have a hard time letting go of that intellect, I've created a new tool called Tom Spark that lets you skip the step of learning how to meditate first. Well, in the first set I previously talked about, I have binaural beats in there to help you if you're not a great meditator, but we go through that meditation path even with the binaural beats. But in Tom Spark, you don't have to worry about meditation at all. Instead of using the meditation path, I use imagination as a path, because your imagination is a very powerful tool. And I kind of harness that imagination to get you into all the same places, where you get into the intuitive space
Yeah.
rather than an intellectual space. So that is something. These are all just new things that are just coming out, very recently. So they're new tools that people can use. So you can go to Soundwise and try to find it, but it's probably best to go to MBT events and just follow what's in what you find in that site to get to those. But those are two new tools, and then this very, very new tool that isn't even here yet, but another month I think I'll have it, is going to be the AI. And I think I'm going to call that AI Uncle Tom. And Uncle Tom's going to be pretty smart, because what I've done is I've taken all of the thousands of hours of video, turned them into text, and then fed those into the AI as its basis. And then we're going to take all the words in my books and feed that into the AI as its basis. And then I'm building a feedback loop that says that if what you're saying, if you get an answer, don't report that right away. Look at the answer and judge whether that answer sounds silly or whether it makes good sense relative to your backgrounds. So if it puts out something that's just goofy, it recognizes it and will go back and do better. So when it does put out something, it's been around through a correction loop a couple of times. So we're writing new code. So it's not just getting a chatbot and giving it data. We're and trying to using the data that's in it. It's not that.
That's sneaky. That's clever.
We're giving it our data, and then we're teaching it to do some of its own fact checking, and then you get a printout. And it's gotten a lot better. The first one that we tried just using the chatbot was terrible. It got big things right, but got an awful lot of stuff just wrong. But the one we got now so far is on our developmental path. I'd say 80 to 90% gold. It's good.
Whoa.
And we're trying to get some more gold out of it to make it more like 90 to 95%, where you get good information back. So if you want to go talk with Uncle Tom, it's coming up in the near future.
I love the book Uncle Tom's Cabin, by the way. That's a beautiful book. Oh, thanks so much, Tom, for everything Tom just said, guys, is in the links in the descriptions box below. And I gather the website's on your channel, link, so that'll be sorted. So
good.
What can I say, Tom Campbell? I thank you so much for gracing me with your presence and my peeps. And as I hope, bringing some of this good information, because there's no need for fear. I don't think there's any need for fear in this place. I really don't. It's all just part of the system. It's not needed.
No, we create it.
We create it.
We create that fear out of our own sense of insecurity.
Our own insecurities.
Yeah. So you're right. There's no need for it. Well, thank you, Martin. I appreciate
thank you. It was lovely to meet you. I sort of knew I would one day for some weird reason. And there you are. So thank you so much, Tom.
You're welcome.
Speak to you soon, eh?
So long.
Okay. Much love to you. Thanks, that's my friends.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Tom, mate. Well, there you are. That went well. Stick around for a minute, guys. Stick around for a minute. I was dying, as mentioned, a lot of stuff, guys, but I think it's Tom Campbell, and I didn't want to piss him off in any way. He's absolutely fantastic. But I did actually want to mention, they need to review their curve calculator, because the 8 inches per mile squared, it definitely needs to be revised, because it's been 8 years now, we still haven't found any curvature. So I'd love to talk that. That's not what we were doing. Okay, we're bringing the love and understanding. And Tom's My Big Toe is fantastic stuff. Anyway. Life-changing stuff. Don't think all them moany thoughts anymore. Okay. I can be me. Right, Tom's gone off to do his lovely stuff. I think he was tiring a bit there. 2 hours he gave us. Fucking hell, one of the most famous physicists in the world. Right. Let's have a look who's here, and I'm going to give you a few shots. Now, I know I got FE Got Talent, okay, and it is all in process because my friend Dave Mantle here yesterday, you know, all know Trinity 4, the truther, yeah. So he was here yesterday. We're going to do a little bit of activism in Cardiff next week, so keep an eye out for that. That's Martin on the streets with my son Lawrence and David Mantle causing a little bit of trouble. It should be good, and I really enjoyed that. I absolutely fantastic. To be honest, I was like, oh, thanks, Rolf. I was pacing up, and my son will tell you, he's in chat. I've been pacing up and down the flat all day, just nervous tension. You know what to say to him, what we're asking. It's like I was thinking this. It's like, does he actually know who I am? You know, I'm flat and fucking British. But he's, you know, he's such a fantastic guy. You know, he's not really, you know, bothered by the look of him. So awkward, isn't it, guys? But he's such a great man. You know, he's definitely ascended master. And do you know what? I had this same thing going on with Jason as well. When I was looking into Jason's face, right? Yeah, when I was on that interview, he changed. He's like literally, so he changed into like an old sage or something. I seen another person's face there. He transfigurized in front of me. You know, while I'm looking at it, Tom just did exactly the same to me as well. I seen him just that bit here, and then his face just changed, and he looked like somebody else completely. He looked like just like an old sage or something. It's really weird, but it's like you see him through. They really are. It's really strange. Twice that's happened now. So, Hippie Shake, good to see you, my darling. Sounds fun. So yeah, I didn't get any trouble with them. You know, I wanted to talk about like evolution, you know, dinosaurs and stuff like that. Because I actually got a list of questions I was going to ask, like, what's that person that evil guy on who does them channels against people? The one that goes out with Simon Dan's boyfriend. What's his name? The one who started on David Wise. So the first question was about evolution, as in, you know, Big Bang, etc. Second is moon landings, and the third is dinosaurs. Actually, the fourth was like the quantum realm, etc. And then for Professor Dave's question, so like that was me to define, you know, what I was dealing with. I was going to hit him up with them if they ever actually talked to him, but I guess in the what you say, Hippie Shake? I get put on the spot. That's what I've been panicking about today. Not panicking. I have been a bit like, oh my god, I got Tom Campbell coming on. He's like, this is a super famous physicist. Chili shampoo makes me wanna wash things out of my hair. I don't like the sound of that. I don't know what's going on there. What's in your hair? Anyway, that's just been my bad mind. Anyway, Cryptic Gallows, super chat for you, man. And it's been an ambition. I'm getting to do a few of them. He's by far the most famous person I've interviewed anyway, no doubt about it. You know, freaking hell, Tom Campbell. And him to grace me as well. But absolutely fantastic. I love the conversation. He covered all the points I wanted him to as well. And I guess everyone on this, like, you know, this good buzz, he's got this loving vibe. He's a beautiful man, isn't he? Beautiful soul. He is. It's divine. This is one of these special people in the realm which all be best that we knew or seen, like literally a living legend. Yeah, he is. I love my guests. So I got other interviews lined up actually. It's just getting around to it, but I got some stuff coming up now. I got a really good Flat Day post. Okay, guys, it's ready for you. I wouldn't miss that if I were you. I may record it. I don't know. It may probably go live. But I've got fantastic finds. And maybe some announcements, some special announcements. We'll see how that goes down. So Divergent, good to see you. Thank you for popping by. Pamela Swan, we'll get into like, we love you so much. Woohoo! She's so full of love and woohoo-ness. It's like I'm literally like woohooing in my Brian is my brain. But people don't know. I'm woohooing in my brain at night, thanks to you, Pamela. I'm like, woohoo! Anyway, let me find a lighter. There's one on the floor. Oh. So it's not every day you get to talk to one of the world's leading physicists, and we was in the Monroe Institute Gateway experience and all that. Oh, I wanted to so pick his brains about all of that, you know, the Ingo Swan stuff. You know, I wanted to tell him like about my psychic abilities. And do you think they'll accept me in the program like men at staring goats, men at stare at goats? Although obviously I wouldn't kill a goat with the power of my mind or anything. But notice I went 2 hours with. Never swore. Nothing. Pamela, we love you. Okay, Hippie Shake. My head moderator, chief moderator with Squiz. Yeah, I've had loads of emails and comments, people wanting me to say stuff to him, and that's not what was going on. We were talking about consciousness and stuff, yeah. As much as I'd love to, like, you know, I don't think that I can tell Tom Campbell anything about me, guys. You can see that he's like, work everything out, can't he? He's just got a completely different worldview point than myself, and well, a couple of the tens of millions of others as well. It's good sniper, but you know, subjective experience. What if you like, and each to their own. Oh. I'm happy. Anyway, thanks, Brian. Thanks, Shiva Shampoo. Your song will be played soon. So how did I do with him? Did I no big deal. Great talk. Oh, good. You can ask him things in the next week. I will. Like, I've just got so many questions. I wanted to talk to him about. I wanted to go into like really deep about NASA. I wanted to go. Like, you know, when you're saying about the O-rings, I'm trying to make the point of, you know, oh, you're doing the statistical fucking permeations of what could go wrong. Yeah, like massive fucking calculations. The O-ring goes wrong on the fucking, you know, Challenger. You know, whatever. It's like, and I'm trying to say, like, so there's like a million things on these ships that could go wrong. Like, and he said, it's like a rubber O-ring. It's like in a temperature. It doesn't work in, actually said heat. So I don't know. It's in the absolute vacuum of space. Is it absolute heat and absolute cold all at the same time? Maybe I don't know. Understand science. Maybe it's all very confusing to me. One thing I do know that they say is a vacuum. I think. Maybe I should have asked him how the pressure system exists against the vacuum. I would have liked to know the answer to that, because you know, so defining the second thermodynamics. Maybe I'll come out with the Simon Dan talking bollocks out of his ass, thing as he usually does. Anyway, this is with the Simon Dan video. That was great and a great talk. Thank you. It was, Stephanie. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I'm glad I got some stuff for the weekend. It's going to be in Mind Blow then as well, and real stuff to look forward to. Well, there is somebody in this chat I'm looking for. Okay, Melchior Soldier, let's ask. Okay, Melage, got the message. Thank you very much. Did you try to call? And who else we got? Amy, I seen you there in the house, giving me the old flat image. Did you see that I got Tom Campbell to give us a flat thumb? Only I could get Tom Campbell to flat thumb. Only I. So front row seats. Thank you so much. Tom was spending 2 hours of a day. Yeah, I know, and I'm guessing his time is precious. I guess in like, you know, being like I don't know what retired nuclear physicists do with their day. Probably eating these about do stuff on the computer. I don't know. Cathedral, Catherine. So yeah, day off now tomorrow. Catch up and then back on Saturday, guys. Do not miss it. As I said, it's going to be a special show because they usually are, and this one is going to be particularly juicy. Okay, Tom, a beautiful chat. Yeah, there's a lot of love going on. Tom loves me. I love Tom. We all love one another. Oh, how happy we could be. I was just saying making love underneath the apple tree, but that doesn't really sound right at all. But it is a nice song. Anyway, tinfoil amplifies the MS. I wasn't going to go there. There was 1,001. I'm a conspiracy theorist, and he's not really a conspiracy theorist, so he's not going to listen to, like, you know, me, like, just basically I'm flat earther, and so I just say everything to me is like, well, bollocks. I'm just saying, and it is to me, you know, that's just my my experience. You know, you could go believe what you want. You think there's fucking nuclear bombs that blow up Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Maybe there was. Maybe there was. I don't feel that there was, because I feel that they're so fucking twats that they would have dropped loads and loads and loads of bombs on us. Plus, they've had nuclear war 10 times over because of all the tests and all the radiation should have killed us. Plus, all of that radiation in Hiroshima, they all should have died. I think there may be 2 Hiroshimas, or maybe 2 everything's, like 2 Chicagos, 2 San Franciscos. Why build one when you can build 2? Maybe they got a replica Earth in a pond over yonder, where all of them, because they definitely imitate their the place where they live, you know, with the Phoenician architecture, the great expositions, and something else that I found that I need to show you on the weekend. That actually quite a few things we never actually knew before. So what's that, Squizzle? Mike Mika, please can you ask about the color chart of the Rosetta wheel for remote viewing? I wish I could have made. Listen, like I said, Tom Campbell, I had a million questions for him, man. Yeah, just gave me 2 hours. He covered a lot there. He's got a good mind there. And plus, it's early in the day for him there, and it's like 12, getting on for like 11, 15 years in the UK. So it's 9 hours behind in the past, because I'm a time traveler. So yeah, so he knew all of the weird shit that's going on in my life in the past. He knew exactly what was going on, because he's the same. So it was just me flitting in between dimension experiences, which I have been like doing all of my life, and it's given me this gift and ability to be highly intuitive and totally right brains and empathetic, which gives you total all of that. And another thing he should have brought up, which I wish he had, is the victim mentality. Like, oh, woe is me, I ain't got this, I ain't got that. When really you find out that, you know, you have got it all. Because you woke up one day, say, for example, blind, then you find out that you did have it all, for example. See what I mean? So, you know, not saying we all take things for granted, you know, we're all guilty of that, guys, but I'm just saying that everything we really truly need is right in front of us. All the rest is materialistic bollocks. You don't need it. You just need someone to love, someone to be there, your family all happy and safe, and for the future. And like that loving world that, you know, Tom so kindly mentioned, I really making that happen, guys. I've done it in the future. Okay, we're feeling it now. That's what I was put here for. This is my specific that I've been talking about for the last 8 years, is that we're going to spill a balance over into that realm of love. And that is going to happen whatever. And I'm not even going to chuck up an oppositional sort of vocal against it, like, fuck you. Because that's an opposition. Just not even bother. Cut it off. Yeah? Unplug. Yeah? New eyes. It's the first time you've ever seen you used your eyes before, Neo. Yeah? It's the first time you used your lungs before, Neo. And you see the world for how it really is. All its beauty, all its splendor, all its love. All the rest is bullshit. They did that. Okay, is that Nora in Mars? Ground control to Major Tom. The circuits. I wanted to talk to him about all of these things and curvature and all of the problems, but it's like he's not in the mood for all that, is he? So I did what I can, guys. You know, he wasn't here for being red pilled. He's here to help. Okay, builds across communities, bring love and understanding, and tell you all the clear answer that you can't cure the world out there until you cure in here first. So once you're sorted, everything is mirrored out there, the whole world out there will be cured because you're cured. Yeah? You've got to lead by example, guys. You've got to be fantastic. You've got to be better. And then they're going to be like, because they're all like, you know, fickle and gullible, and they're all going to be like, they look really cool and happy and vibey. I want to be one of them. And then because of the nature, they will join on eventually. Okay? They'll fad it like the new craze. You watch them. It's all over TikTok. It's fucking coming. There's no stopping it. There never was. We knew that years ago, guys. So much love to you, Squirrel. Thank you for all you do, Nathan. You're an awesome brother to have around. Mark, good to see you, my friend. Let's check out poor little orb whisperer. Okay, this has been a few hours, haven't it? 240 of you. Don't know what night it is. Thursday. So, I hope I did okay. And that was tricky for me, guys. And it was a bit nervy. Like I said, guys, you know, I had so many conflicting questions going on in my mind. I had them written down. You know, I know what I wanted to get asking. You know, help me. You're the only man that can. Or know what it is that I'm trying to say, which he did. So that helped that. And he talked about my big toe quite a bit as well. So I get the book, guys. It was a massive life changer. It's really good. Get my books as well. Okay, I'm an author as well. Yeah. Holy Grail, The Great Reset. See all of that gnarly shit that just went up? Well, get this book, guys. Yeah, that'll tell you all about it. So you see that linked up in the description box below. I've also got a shop. Aware of that? No, I know I hardly ever mention it, do I? Because it's materialistic, and I should actually, because I need to survive in this place, mention that I have a shop where you can buy flat firm t-shirts. You can even get like flat firmage little doggy coats or flat firmage fucking, I don't know, sewing. What's some things you put on your finger when you sew it? Thimble. I haven't got any flat British thimbles, but it would be good if we did have. Anyway, this Tom Campbell works for NASA. Why is he on a flat Earth channel? Now, this is what I was talking about. Right? Flat, infinite, plane Earth. Don't be fucking phobic, okay? I'm a flat earther, overwhelmingly, but not scared to talk to anybody else in the world because of because of what I know. If they don't agree with me, well, that's just their journey, okay? I thoroughly enjoyed having Tom over. He's absolute fucking legend, and he completely admitted all he was doing was permeations for what could go bang with spacewalkings. And as we all know, you know, go fat. So anyway, so Jersey, that's other people's journeys. Okay, guys, I'm not fucking doing that. If you're not happy that I never red pilled or smacked the guest, tough shit. It was just to talk about consciousness. Okay, guys, defend him. There you are. Even though it's got different sort of worldview, not belief systems, worldview. Okay, and he's a high-end intellectual, so that's not hasty. I am interested in water. Well, you're in it. This is water solution. We'll be talking about that a little bit on the weekend as well. Caffeine again. So, let's get an errant. Okay, so we've got an errant in the house. Prophetic dreams, even if only a snippet of a convention, sometimes months after the dream, deja vu. Yeah, I do. Like, I've got loads of funky shit happening, and I've already sort of seen it happening, so it's really good. So, Keith, good to see you, my friend. Why is Martin lying? Well, tell me why I'm lying then, Keith. Come on then. And I've never had a comment before from you ever in my life, and I've never seen you before in my chat. So, why am I lying? Please tell. Okay, come on, speak up for yourself. Okay, and then I'll defend myself. And then if you've just been a twat, I'll block you. Thomas Berry, I want to know why this guy's calling me a fucking liar. I'm a fucking truther. Not doing that shit. I know absolutely zero about this person calling me a liar, man. Come on. No? Yeah. Twiceborn says, out with it. Why am I a fucking liar? No, you're just one of those name callers and run away like in the schoolyard, and you pull your hair, run away. You're one of them, aren't you? No, stop that, mate. We all love you, just get over yourself, okay? That's just a reflection. Okay, we get it. It's not you, okay? Anyway, Martin, sorry, mate. I put him on a naughty step for 30 seconds. Oh, all right then. Okay. Well, he was calling me quality fire. So. I want. If you're going to be accusing me of stuff, say what it fucking is. He's a liar. See what I mean? That's just bullshit, isn't it? First time here in chat, enjoyed very much. Oh, thanks, Beth Dickinson. Welcome to you. I hope you come here again. We usually have a brilliant time. This is always a good, loving place, like I said to her. Hi, love. Like I said to Bob, Tom, my new broski. Mates with Tom Campbell, ain't I? Yeah. So we had a little talk beforehand, yeah? We know one another from previous life stuff. Fat Thumbs. So Inga Haygarden there as well, so from our Cheryl, and Cody, and Flat Thumb's brother. So I definitely want someone to get a screenshot of him flat thumbing, all right? But I'll put that in the thumbnail. Oh, I love that, man. It's brilliant. It's called Manifesting a New Reality. Listen, I got a vivid imagination, and I know he definitely has, yeah? And that is, you know, some people have no imagination. I'm a daydreamer. I'm like literally sit there, like that's my meditation. I'm gone. I've gone off into fucking. I'm on stage doing like fantastic musical abilities and that when I can't play shit. But in my fantasy world, yeah, I'm fucking Jimi Hendrix on Woodstock, yeah. I'm smashing up my guitar through the Marshall amp and 4x12 amplifiers in my fantasy, and everyone's like, yeah, and I'm getting the buzz on like it's really happening in my fantasy, yeah. Because that's the ability of my daydream. And there's another thing as well that I should have mentioned, or I don't know if you touched upon it a little bit, is there is a literal universe inside you of feeling. I mean, it's so much more than what is offered from drugs, the environment, a nice sunny day, and all of the other things that they give us in this place. I mean, inside us is an untapped ocean of euphoria, bliss, harmony, and all the best feelings you can possibly imagine. Yeah, and we have them all. And so why aren't we all feeling them all the time? Because we're blocking them. We're blocking them. They're there. We can let them through. We can feel those feelings. It's only the negativity and the bullshit, as Tom mentions, that stops any of that. You know, they literally hijack consciousness as far as I can see. And I noticed that a lot of the stuff, like, I don't think that this is the same simulation as before, and I have a lot of different ideas to Tom. I can see his face. He is brilliant. So I'm going to dive off. I come back flat today, okay, guys? That's only 48 hours away, and I got fantastic books for you. Okay, and it will be very juicy. I can assure you that. Follow the money. Well, that's where you're wrong, see, because I've got to be one of the, and I'm actually famous for this as well. Keith Fern, she's calling me shit, yeah. I'm probably one of the skinless fucking truthers in the truth community, and I don't even give a fuck about it, okay? Because I'm not one of them. I'm one of the you, or not one of you, because you're being a bit of a twat, but one of the peeps, and I want to stay one of the peeps, okay? I don't separate myself. I don't do oh, I'm aloof, I'll do this, I stay over here and better, or anything like that. Guys, I'm fucking one of you. You're my gang. Yeah? You're my homies. Yeah? Where am I home? Well, my homies is where I'm at home. So that was weak and disappointing, that, I'm afraid, mister. But we'll let it go. You can stay. Okay. You just do not understand. And if what I've said is still not satisfying to you, well then, tough shit. Again, can help you. Diego, good to see you. My Martin, can please share your perspective on Mandela effect? Well, definitely, Dolly definitely had braces, and that's the end of it. So some changes have happened. There's no way in a squillion billion years that Dolly never had braces. In James Bond film, you know, with Jaws, and she smiles at him, she's got braces on. Yeah, there's no way that Dolly has not got braces. Okay, so that is a definite change. Again, you know, the internet likes to give names like simulation. Funny, the Sims game came out. It's just like, it's just names to explain an experience, isn't it? You know, and you know, they turn everything into the quantum mechanic realm, which is, you know, atoms, electrons, etc. But I've seen what this realm is. I know what it looks like. I've seen molecular build-up with my own eyes. I know it sounds mad, but I have. This place is geometric. Okay? It's electric, it's fluid, and you can interact with it. You can literally go like that through the fluid. You can't visually see that now, okay? But I have cut air, and you can visually, and it is a type of liquid. Okay, we are in water, which is where the information is. So once you start thinking about all those materialistic things, like that dude was just on about, then the information just pours in for the right reasons, guys. For the right reasons. I am trying my best. Yeah. So if I had an ego, I would be offended. There you go. Thanks, Valerie. I hope you're recovering in the last week or so with all the stuff last week or the week before. So sending much love to you, Valerie Parks, and I hope things get better. It takes a bit of time, I can assure you, but it's true what they say, time does heal. It's true that bit, but it never go away. Law breaking with the out breath, putting out intention. I just send my intentions to the wind, man, to see where all the pieces fall. If it's done with love, you can't go wrong, can you? You've got the right intent. Yeah. So it's not like for me, because I'm not actually after anything. I don't even want much. It's like Tom says, to be able to get the bigger fucking picture out there to all of the people, wake them up, so we don't go into the next. So we don't go into history as just slaves to this psychopathic system, which is killing everybody. Can't keep going on like that. And everyone's doing it by consent. You're registered dead. You're registered dead at sea. You're registered lost at sea. You're a corpse to them. You're not even alive. To them. That's how worthless you are to them. You're just a corporate member. And yet, you know, people will give everything, all their hope, all their trust to their great countries and their governments. Do you know what we got to suffer this week? Nation. Do you know what that is? Don't know, don't care. It means that on the weekend, all of Britain's going to go all like ignore completely that Sausage Fingers is going to get a crown put on his head. What would be brilliant is this. So they're going to crown a king, right? So he's on a stone of Scone, yeah, and he's on the throne, right, yeah, and you know, all of them are there. It's the world media, it's the biggest media events, you know, since fucking, I don't know, Diane Charles got married, you know, 4 billion, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so they just go and put the crown on his head, and because he's so heavy, yeah, squeezes a loud fart out. Wouldn't that be brilliant? Yeah. As they put the crown on. That would be fantastic. Now, that would be a coronation worthy of this ridiculous realm, wouldn't it? Or even better, the king shits himself. They put the crown on, yeah, he's had a really ticky stomach all morning because he got all that alcohol problem. Obviously, the water retention's a big, you know, clue to that. And then he shits himself on the throne. Wouldn't that be brilliant? Would you love that? I would love the king to shit himself on the throne. Oh, let's just see how it all goes down. Maybe I just imagined how it's really going to go down. Okay, there's no badness happening. Maybe just a little bit of piddle down his leg, or he'll fat because the crown will be too heavy, or he'll shit himself. That'd be really good. Yeah, that's the coronation. And you know, coincidentally, when the king shits himself, it'll look exactly like coronation chicken. Don't worry, in America, you don't have to suffer these terrible things, you know. Tom was telling me about the terrible things in the world, like about child slavery, you know, when they chained him to the mill in Manchester and stuff. I'm like, I know you went to Beamish Hall last, and I was like, you haven't actually been to Britain, like, I mean, inner city Britain, have you? Because, like, all the youth sure are all like, I don't even want to go into it because it's a completely separate realm that he lives in compared to me. But believe you me, there's worse things going on, and then fucking kids tied to the mill in these days. They're like they're drug dealers. They do all like just run around like psychopaths. They're feral today. It's just well, people in different worlds, don't they? Fiend, Rhonda, good to see you. Rebecca, Shiva. Oh, sorry, you haven't been wrong, my way, mate. He's a nice old dad. He looks like, coincidentally, now tell me he don't, right? The architect of the Matrix. Yeah. Neo. Yeah. Sat in front of all them telly screens. He looks just like he's half Kenny Rogers and he's half the architect. Yeah, because he's definitely got a bit of a Kenny Rogers vibe, yeah. And the architect of the Matrix. I was going to mention it to him, but I'm not sure he's actually watched any movies. Probably not. Not doing like all of that number crunching and probabilities. That got to be rather complicated. But he had a massive computer. So. Anyway, Rebecca Broom. She the shampoo. So I'm glad he's not an old man. Anyway, you want to see me? It's a dance floor for two hours solid, Nora, right? And he dances like what Disco Inferno. He's got proper moves. Yeah, he wiggles his butt. He's proper fucking doing all that. And the guy got to be like, I don't even know what Tom is. He's ageless, isn't he? He don't even look old in his face. I don't know. I'd say 76, 75, something like that. I'd say. But anyway, he was in the Monroe Institute. Okay, not old, is he? Anyway, he said he was young. So I'm going to go now, guys, because it's coming up to another date, and it's like literally the next day. Giggle share too. So we love you, Pamela. It's 300 seconds. Okay. You can do that to the show corner. Acne Suso. Good to see you, my friends. What's happening? How's your crypto game coming along? Yeah, crypto. Money's going to fall through. Won't even exist by year we in 2023. 2028. Won't need to see another note. Something like that. 4 years. Give it that. So. Did I finish my talents show? No, I haven't had a fucking chance, Cody. So much going on, but I've like sort of told everybody that I will, and I will like beat myself up until I do. And I talked to Dave about it yesterday. He's coming on for a panel, non-judgy judge. So this week, okay, this week we'll talk about it for last day. Make sure to come back. Okay, make sure to like this video, share this video if you did, and much love to Tom. Thank you for popping by. 2 hours. Spending time with Flat Earth British. It's funny, isn't it? The irony, I love it. Like energy drinks. Don't drink energy drinks, Sam Fisher. It's bull's spunk. Okay, like spunk. Don't drink energy drinks. Okay. Nathan, good to see you, my friends. Bob Sykes, there you are. What's happening, my bro? He's confused. We create through consciousness. He's confirmed we create through consciousness. So yes, that's definitely the case. I think we're all working out that we're baby gods, and that we're becoming bigger gods, and we're getting this really good. We're really good at it. I think we're getting it really good. But like he said, it is accelerating. So we've got got to get jiggy with it, guys. Yeah. Get jiggy with it. I think he's once off troll. I think it's what I call an adjacent troll. So they want to be horrible, but they're scared something bad might happen to them. Which, by the law of what you put out into the universe, you get back. If you've been a twat, tenfold. Was the right logic. Well done, you. We're all learning here together, aren't we? It's fantastic. So, anyway, I've said all these. I gotta go. I need to drink and stuff. Okay, thanks, Nora. Thanks, Cryptic. Thanks. What's her name? Jihonje. Thanks for the advice. No worries. Hope it helps. Hope everything helps. Shoot him like JFK. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Because JFK never really got his brain splattered or anything. He's a dummy in a car, wasn't it? So. And they're all in a big family, and none of it really happened. It doesn't matter. You haven't seen the show, have you? Yeah. It's called Bullshit Soap Opera. Lay lower, Nora. What's that concerning? Is that you, Lee? What are you doing up so late? Jesus, Lee, you're never up this late. Okay, it's good to see you, bro. What do you think of that then, Lee? I bet he was all dying. Oh, everybody was dying for me to just total flat earth agony for me. It really was. Hey, Romney Bear. Not star, brother. Not star, Brian. Not star, Matthew. Not star, Rebecca Broom. Thank you so much. You. Not star. Petty Dot. Not star to you. Gary Felton's in the chat as well. I can see, don't I? I'll see. Good. Thank you so much, Cody. King Snooker Gerson. That is father in the house. So how long has this been going on? Oh, fucking hours and hours. 8 o'clock. I started at night, 3 hours. Wow. So that was me. My interview with Tom Campbell, famous NASA physicist, and it all went swimmingly. And I didn't put my foot in it once, which was my main concern. Okay, to be disrespectful to such a great man, like inadvertently, which I wouldn't want to do. Keep dumb, but I couldn't because my Brian's like, man, you just got to ask him, man. You just got to ask him. He's here. Don't let him go. But he's not doing that. Anyway, peace and love to you all. Be good. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Keep spreading the love. Keep the vibration high. I will be back, as I said, Friday. That's going to happen. Big announcements. Loads to look forward to. You're not even going to believe it. It's going to smash Brian's all over the wall. I mean, it's just going to splat all over the wall. Right. Okay? Look forward to that. Marathon. I've had a 24-hour live feed, 16-hour live feeds. I've done them all. Did sun tracking once. It was literally 48 hours without sleeping. I don't know how we managed that. Me and Nathan and fucking Antonio, Jesus, but we did it. Oh, and GeoShifter. Oh, hail GeoShifter. Be back with Juice. Okay, I am coming back with Juice Lee. I'm coming back with Juicy Juice. Okay, it's gonna make a difference to the whole of the realm age. Because every time we crank up, that happens. Okay, that's a big proposition to perform. Okay, thank you too. Okay, I gotta get going. Oh, hiya, Christos. Love you, brother. I am Nancy Mo here. He loves my rabbit. Christos loves my bunny and his missus. So thank you for that. Thanks, brother. Lee, one love, Lee. Okay, then I gotta get going. Boom Shankar. May the seed of your loins be forever fruitful in the belly of your woman. And all good things. I'll be back very soon. Happy time. Yes, Tom Campbell.